Joining us this morning, Titania Jordan.
Tatiana Jordan. Did I get the name right? Jordan?
Titania.
Titania. Okay. All right.
It's Titania Jordan.
So sitting beside me is Stacey Tank, Vice President of Corporate Communications and External Affairs for one of the largest companies on the globe that's based right here in Atlanta, Home Depot. Mm-hmm. So cue the round of applause. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to hear, and I know everybody watching does as well, your path to get to that place. How did you end up at Home Depot?
Absolutely. No, thank you so much for having me. By the way, it's great to be here and excited we could find the time to connect. It has been a completely unpredictable and unplanned path. So the dirty little secret is I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. I still don't think I know what I want to be when I grow up.
That's so refreshing.
So there is no magic bullet, no secret recipe at all. I grew up in a household where my mom and dad were both working, and my mom was a really fantastic female role model for me. Awesome. And she was an educator, so she instilled in my sister and in me this incredible passion for learning. And anything that we could get our hands on, any experience that we could try, we wanted to just dive in and see what it was about. And we were the kids doing sports and theater and the school newspaper and the sustainability club, the environmental club, all those things, just to see what it was all about. And so that's the spirit that I brought after finishing my education to the workplace when I was trying to get my first job and then contribute to an organization, just saying yes to a lot of different projects and opportunities and soak up as much learning from the great people around me as I could. So I graduated with a film degree and a business degree and really didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I might go to law school. I thought I might be an agent. I had a performing arts background. I love the arts and I love creating things and delighting people. And so I just got the business and the communications and film degree just to essentially hedge my bets. Mm-hmm. And I graduated early, so I moved out to Colorado and I was teaching yoga full time. And I was an aerobics instructor and a personal trainer, living with my boyfriend at the time, who became my husband later. And then I had interned for GE, done a bunch of different internships to just try things out and see what might make sense. And I'd interned with GE and they offered me a rotational leadership program opportunity in marketing and communications. And I wasn't sure I wanted to be in communications, but when they called, they said they would move me to Paris for my first job. So I said, I will empty the trash cans for Paris. I will do anything for Paris.
Let's do this.
So I'm all in, just tell me where to go. So I jumped on the plane and moved to France by myself, which was a really great, formative experience growing up in a city. I was 21 years old and I didn't obviously know anybody there. And I had a French last name at the time, so I sort of blended a little bit by last name only, and on every other account didn't blend in at all. And I remember I landed at the airport and I wrote on a little piece of paper my French apartment address, and I handed it to the taxi driver and he took me there, and I had 2 suitcases and he dropped me on the side of the road, and I looked up like, all right,
let's do this.
Let's do this. So I worked there for a while, and then I moved from Paris to the equally fabulous Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Oh, right?
Also passionate about cheese.
Yes.
So there was a lot of cheese enthusiasm happening. And then from there I moved back to Connecticut. And I was enjoying what I was doing, but I still wasn't sure that's what I wanted to do when I grew up. And so I had heard about GE's corporate audit staff. And my dad had been an auditor, and he had talked about audit investigations, and they were doing this assessment, and they flew in and they went to check something, but it was actually a scam. And I thought, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And so the other thing that piqued my attention was that no one from my background had ever joined before. And it was mostly finance people. And I thought, this is extra interesting because it's going to be an extra challenge.
Shake it up a little bit.
Shake it up and see, can I cut it? And they gave me a 4-week tryout. They called it a pilot back in Milwaukee. And then they let me join.
Wow.
So I was 100% global travel. I got to go to India and China. I lived in Brazil. I lived in Montreal and Toronto. I lived in Germany, in London, on Oxford Street. It was incredible. And I worked in plastics businesses that were very short cycle and commodity driven, to aircraft engines, to gas turbines, to NBC Universal in London, to banks, commercial and consumer banks in Germany, and everything in between. Nuclear power plants, I held enriched uranium in my hands. Yeah, just incredible learning experiences. And then I rolled off as a finance leader for a small GE business in Boston that did industrial water. And my husband and I had moved to LA and to Boston. And then the financial crisis happened. October 2008, Lehman Brothers went under.
Oh yeah.
And the world got turned upside down. And I got a call from GE Corporate, and they said, you know communications, you know finance, we're in a financial crisis. Would you come back as the chief of staff for the chief communications officer, Gary Sheffer, who had been one of my first bosses and was a long-time coach and mentor and sponsor for me. And so I remember being on the phone with Gary, and I was like, I'm all in, this is awesome, I'm so excited to come back. And I remember I was sitting on my bed, I don't know if it was a weekend or I was working from home, and I remember looking down, and I was pregnant.
Just as you said that, I was 7 months pregnant at that time, so...
Oh, that's right,
yeah.
Because our sons are the same age,
yeah.
That's right. And so I remember looking down and being like, oh, I need to tell him I'm pregnant. I forgot about
right?
the whole, as a first time mom, I'm like, oh, no big deal.
I'm all in, it's just, yeah.
Not really, my life is gonna completely change.
Goosebumps.
And, yeah, so I remember saying to him, oh, I'm all in, but I forgot, Gary, and I'm sorry, I just forgot to mention, I'm pregnant. So, is that fine? And I'll, and he said, oh yeah, that's great. Just, figure that out and let us know.
Forget the HR laws involved with, having to disclose that sort of thing. But
yeah, I didn't know how it was supposed to work. And so he was a friend. And so I just, so he was wonderful. He has 4 children, so he was incredible about it. So I had the baby and then started my new job back at GE Corporate, moved back to Connecticut from Boston. And I did that job at a time when you had the financial crisis, but also the rise of social and digital. Mm-hmm. So you had bloggers publishing things about your company that may or may not have been true.
Yep.
Could take billions of dollars of valuation out of your company value, out of your stock price. And there was no ombuds person to call. There was no editor to call. And they sort of said, well, that's our point of view, and so what are you going to do about it? So we saw the rise of owned media, the rise of social, and companies and organizations thinking about reputation in a different way, with different tools. So that was fun because there was no roadmap, and it was the Wild West, and we just had to learn on our feet and learn from mistakes, which is really the deepest kind of learning. And then I looked after global communications for a $6 billion health incubator after that, which was doing in-country, for-country innovation. So instead of taking a $40,000 ECG machine in the US and bringing that to India, where it's going to be maybe not durable enough for the village environment in which you might be serving people, it is also just too expensive.
Right.
We built in-country, for-country ECG machines, for example, that used in-market tools and parts that were easy to fix or find at the neighborhood store. And for the cost of a bottle of water, you could do a heart scan for someone in a rural village.
Wow.
So I loved that job. I love and am incredibly passionate about health. And then after that, I was getting ready to go on to my next job at GE after about 10 years. And the CEO of Heineken called me in the US, and he said, I heard about you, and I've got this job, and do you want to have a coffee? Ironically enough, it was first a coffee, then a beer afterwards. Start with a coffee. And I really was interested in what he was trying to do to turn the business around in the US. And the job had some operational elements, it had government relations and lobbying, it had sustainability, and some other aspects of corporate communications and marketing communications. So I thought he was an incredibly inspiring leader, and I thought, okay, I'll join his management team and jump in at the turnaround of this business, and had a complete ball because beer is fun.
It sure is.
It was a really fun, creative job, and I went from a 100-plus-year-old publicly traded company based in the US to a Dutch family-controlled company, also over 100 years old. And that was a totally different center of gravity that was very interesting, and a consumer-based company versus largely a business-to-business company. So I was having a ball there, and I was getting ready to take another role with Heineken and was having my second son. So we thought we'd have the baby here in the US, and then we were looking to move to Asia, actually, and was very excited about that, and had convinced my husband that this was a good idea. It took me 2 years to kind of bring the camel to the water, and he was drinking the water, and we were ready to rock and roll. And then I got a call from a recruiter who I'd known for a long time, and I was sitting in I-95 in traffic, bumper to bumper traffic outside of New York City, and she said, I know you're moving, I know you're really happy, I know you're not looking, but I just have this gut feeling that it's gonna be a match for you based on the culture at Home Depot. I just have this feeling, would you just have one conversation? That's what they always say, just have one conversation.
Just one.
Well, to her credit, to Jean Allen's credit, she was right. I fell in love with Home Depot, and I knew that I wanted to move down here to Atlanta the moment I met with the new CEO. He had just been promoted, Craig Manier, and found him to be such a profoundly inclusive leader and so down to earth.
Oh, that's huge.
Oh my gosh, he's the most low ego, servant-minded person you could ever dream of. And so my husband went, oh really, Atlanta? Okay, we could do Atlanta. You mean we're not moving to Asia? Okay, no problem. He had this huge smile on his face. So we decided to move down here about 3 years ago now, and my role at Home Depot has our foundation. We have a 501c3 nonprofit focused on veteran housing, disaster relief, our hometown of Atlanta,
yes,
as well as the trades and skilled trades, and trying to make shop class cool again and bringing shop classes
It's
back.
the coolest.
It is the cool. I took shop class and I loved shop class.
I wish they offered it at Marist High School. I love you. You're the best high school ever. But like, you need to offer shop class.
Yeah, bring it back.
Yeah.
Because it is, whether you go into the trades or you just love to make things and you have passion for making things,
yes,
it's a fantastic thing to offer to young people and to make it cool again.
Right?
It should be. It's a very honorable way to spend your time and make a profession. So we have our foundation. We have a by employee for employee assistance program called the Homer Fund. 93% of our own people give their money to the Homer Fund to stand in solidarity with their fellow employees in times of hardship, like your child has cancer and you can't pay the bills. You have a house fire and you need to get back on your feet. So we do 15,000 grants a year to our employees. We have over 400,000 employees, and we take care of each other because that's why I love this company.
That
it's
is
all
amazing.
about, we say the orange blood, you bleed orange, but it's really a high performance culture with incredibly smart people that treat each other like family. It's like a group of Navy SEALs who you're really performing at a high level, but you're brothers and sisters at the end of the day. And then we have corporate communications, PR, and issues, and executive communication, social and digital media on the corporate side, our corporate website. We run a branded merchandise business, which is fun for us, a store in our headquarters and an e-commerce site. Anything with the Home Depot logo on it is our team. We sell, fun fact, more units of branded merchandise with the organization that we work with, which works with Fortune 100 companies, more units of branded merchandise than anyone else in the world.
Wow.
That they work with, because our people love Home Depot gear. They want to wear it with pride.
That's huge.
It's fun. It's fun. We have an experiential events team. We have sustainability communications. So that big group of happy dogs and cats all together makes up corporate communications and external affairs.
Oh my goodness. So I'm just trying to digest, and I've heard this before. Like, this is the first time you all might be hearing this. I've heard this before, and I'm still, at some points, again, moved to goosebumps, moved to tears, just overcome with just adoration for what you know and the amount of people you've been able to serve. The theme of servant leadership is one that I gravitate towards and shout from the rooftops and really embrace in any organization. How do you manage your day to day? That is a lot to keep tabs on. So just like, straight up, how do you stay organized and efficient?
Probably the first thing that I learned that's helpful with all of this, and I was not good at this growing up, is having a good sense of humor.
Yes, okay, that's huge. That's good.
It is not always going to be beautiful, right? The day is not always going to go the way you want it to go. There's going to be a traffic jam. There's going to be a meeting that gets canceled, or a deadline that gets moved up, or my kids are sick and need to be picked up
or
from school.
Or a highway that collapses.
Or a bridge that collapses. Just a sundry mix of, we always say you can't make this stuff up, right?
You really
can't make this stuff up because life is hugely imperfect, and there's beauty in that.
Yes.
And one of my colleagues taught me this great expression, which is, you laugh so you don't cry.
Every day.
I love to laugh.
Every single day.
To find the beauty in the imperfection, and I had to learn that as an adult.
Okay.
So as long as we embrace that and we have a lot of good laughter at home and at work, that's a good going in proposition for every day, because it is pretty crazy. And there's always a plan A, plan B, plan C for how we're going to get all the things done. And we're just constantly prioritizing. What are the critical things that have to get done today? And I'm big on, with my team, if they need something and we're going to miss an opportunity, break down my door. Hopefully the door's open, but if there's a meeting or something, just come in and say, yeah, exactly. Kick it down, be confident, say what you need. Let's get you what you need. Or if you don't need something, make the call on your own. They're empowered to make things happen unless they need something, like a roadblock removed that I can be helpful with. So we really try to have autonomy in that regard so things can keep clicking along. But it takes a village. I have an amazing husband. I never realized the most important career decision I made was choosing my husband. It's the truth.
Right?
If he wasn't supportive, if he wasn't supportive and didn't help out 50-50, I would say he actually does more than 50% of making the magic happen in our family, then I would have so much guilt. Mom guilt's a real thing.
It sure is.
And so we all work to kind of shake that off, but I would have a whole lot more mom guilt if he didn't make me feel like we were in this together and he was proud of what I was trying to do and he was cool with leaning in and doing things that we talk a lot about my parents and his parents and that generation and the norms in the household and how much the norms have changed, and the norms are very different in our household, and he really loves that. And as long as he's happy, I'm happy, the kids are happy, the whole life works. So, yeah.
It's really amazing. You know, Steve Chamberlain, a dear friend of ours, put us in touch. And Steve, you're awesome, because you just know. You know when people need to meet. Like, I'm listening to your story, and there are so many parallels. And I'm just so excited to finally meet you in person, and hope we can continue talking off camera about so many things. But yeah, my husband is my rock, and I would not be able to have the career that I have without his support. My son is homesick from school today. He's with him so that I can be here with you. You know what I mean? So it's little things like that that wouldn't have been possible back when my mom was a single mom, you know, trying to make things happen. It's just a different world. So you have touched on, you know, how you organize your day, kind of from a philosophical standpoint, but because I'm super techie, like, do you use Google Docs, Google Calendar? Are you a Microsoft Outlook kind of person? Like, what are the actual tools you use?
Absolutely, yeah. So our business uses Microsoft Outlook, and my husband is working for a technology company as well. They use Microsoft Outlook.
Okay.
Our whole life is scheduled in Outlook.
Okay.
So this morning, last night, I got an invitation for our neighbor's 8-year-old birthday party. Outlook invitation to my husband. Remember, we have to get the present, put the little alert on it a week before so we can order the present and make sure everything is right in the world. So baseball, hockey, lacrosse, everything. All my travel, all my flights, he's an invited party so he knows which hotels I'm staying and which flights I'm on. Just everything is in Outlook. And without Outlook, it would be a little unsettling because I wouldn't know what address do I go to, or it's all there.
It's all
my one
there.
version of the truth of what to do in my life. So we use that. We have family texts, group texts. So my sister-in-law, and the both sets of grandparents and my husband and I are on a group text. So we like to send pictures of the kids and just let them know what's going on. Report cards or things at work for us, whatever it is. We planted wisteria. You know, my mom loves to garden, so we keep this great group text going so the family feels connected, because my in-laws are in New York and Florida, and my parents are in Connecticut. My sister's in Boston, so we're not geographically together very often. So that's a way to feel closer to each other.
Thank God for smartphones in that capacity, at least, because it's same. We've got people all over the globe, and you can FaceTime them and feel like they're right there, and that's wonderful.
Absolutely. And then I'm a big Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter girl, so I'm kind of out there engaging with friends. And I love Facebook Messenger and even LinkedIn, how you can easily, if you don't remember someone's cell phone, you don't remember their email, or you can't find it, you can just reach out so easily. Oh, I'm going to be at South by Southwest. Are you going to be there? Let's do a coffee. Or it makes the world just smooth and easy.
Do you struggle with the amount of places there are to catch up on messages? Because that's what I'm dealing with right now. It's like there's Gmail, there's Facebook Messenger, there's Instagram Direct Messenger, and Twitter DM, and text, and there's some ball getting dropped somewhere, and I don't even know it, and I feel horrible about that.
I was recently thinking about this because when the proliferation of social media channels happened, I did struggle a little bit with it, and it was actually, I think about in my life what gives me energy and what zaps my energy.
Yes.
And what zaps my energy, I try to do as little of as possible.
Amen.
And do the energy giving things, energy giving people,
yes,
energy giving things. So somehow it's become a bit less laborious, but I have a bit of a rule of thumb, which is I have an email that's always open to myself at all times. And in that email, in priority order, are all the things that I need to look after. So the things for today, and then further down, things that are good to think about, questions I want to keep asking myself. So that is the version of, if there are explicit tasks and to-dos, that's the list, the official list. My Outlook inbox is also containing all that action-oriented emails and things that I have to do.
Yeah.
My Gmail, Instagram, Snap, LinkedIn, messages, everything else is a bit more, I give myself a break of get to it when I can get to it.
Yes, okay.
But if I have a critical Gmail, I'll forward it to my Outlook email, and then I know by the end of the day, for sure, I will get back to that person. Otherwise, I just try to give myself a break, because I could get, especially a couple years ago, I would get crazy with anxiety about this person's reaching out about mentoring, and this person wants a job, and you could just, you could make yourself miserable feeling guilt on all of that. And so I try to just do the best I can. And if it is critical, it's going to make it into my to-do list.
So not only embracing every day with humor, but also grace. Give yourself grace.
I try. Hugely imperfect, but that's the aim. Yeah.
I reached out to an investor recently, and her out of office was amazing, and I almost copied it. It was like, look, I'm in a really busy season of life. I'm running this, and this. I've got kids. Like, I might not get back to you for 3 weeks, and I'm so sorry about that. Here's my Calendly link. Let's try to work something out. And I was like, that's so beautiful. I'm not there yet, but I might get there sooner than later. Let's talk about some of the exciting things that are on the horizon, both for 2018 and beyond with Home Depot. As you outlined, there's so much going on, and how can we, watching, engage and support?
No, absolutely. It is an exciting time in retail. Retail used to be kind of straightforward. There's a store, you walk into it, you might look at something, think about buying it, buy it. Retail in the last decade, the last 5 years in particular, has changed more than probably the last 30 plus years.
Exponentially.
With technology and digital. And I remember the advent of retail apps and e-commerce, where it was so great in theory, but the user experience wasn't great, and you wanted to buy online, but then things weren't HTML5, they wouldn't be adjustable to your browser, and you have to scroll and type, and it was just not a great experience. But things have fundamentally changed. So you can do all kinds of 1- and 2-click buying now. You can be browsing on your tablet or your phone or on your PC, and then go into the store to buy. You can browse and buy online. You can blend these channels so effortlessly. It makes life for someone like me, someone like you with a really crazy life, it makes things so easy. I can get my groceries delivered to my front door. I can be in a family environment with my kids and still remember to pick up, oh my gosh, milk, eggs. Oh, I'm responsible for the birthday cupcakes. Okay, great. That's going to get delivered tomorrow. Done. So it just makes life so fantastic, and you can spend more time with family, doing hobbies, whatever it is. So we announced in December, as it relates to Home Depot, we're doubling the investment in our business the next 3 years to $11 billion.
Whoa!
$11 billion.
Whoa!
So we just crossed the $100 billion mark as a company. We just had earnings yesterday morning.
Wow.
The beautiful 4 a.m. wake up call 4 times a year. So it was a very happy day.
Yeah.
Which was great. So we're doubling down in our stores. About half of that investment is going into our stores to refresh the store experience and then connect it to this blended digital experience that people want. Whether that's lockers that now you can come and just scan your phone, the locker pops open and boom, you're out, or you want something delivered to the store, you need it delivered in 2 days, you need it delivered today. Does it fit on a flatbed truck? Does it fit in a car? So every permutation you can imagine, we're investing into, whether it's the physical store, the digital world, or the supply chain element of actually having it show up there and making sure while all of that is happening that we're offering you an everyday great value with the technology that you want for your home. Homes are changing.
Yes, they are.
I'm very excited personally about
Yes.
my Ring doorbell.
Yes.
And my Ecobee thermostat, or my Nest thermostat, and my smart garage door opener, and our smart water heater, and
Sonos.
Sonos.
Love it.
Exactly. We have all kinds of cameras everywhere now, which I like because I can just see my kids if I'm traveling and see who's at the door, their packages, or whatever's happening there. So because the home is changing, technology is changing, and every bay and every aisle of the Home Depot now, you see technology that wasn't even imaginable 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Door locks where you can enter a code, or that have different thumbprint technology or smartphone enabled. So it's not just a smart home bay anymore. It's every aisle, it's the entire store. So retail's changing, home improvement's changing, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it.
It's incredibly exciting. You know, it's almost like we're living in a time where anybody can be James Bond. It started with a smartphone,
That's true.
and it's
That's
now
true.
permeating our homes. You know, it used to be things that you only think somebody like Bill Gates could afford to have in his home. Now we can, and that's really cool.
You just say, "Okay, Google," or Alexa, or the voice activation, the voice ordering. I find very interesting.
yes.
We're doing some work with Google right now on that. And the price point on the devices now is $40, $50. It's an accessible price point on some of these devices, which is making it available to lots of folks.
It's fascinating. You know, IoT and smart home technology has just begun to take off. I can't wait to see what's on the horizon. Man, there's so much to talk about. Would you possibly come back and be a guest on our show again?
So sweet, I'd love to.
I
would
mean,
absolutely love to.
The combination that you bring of your tenure, your personality, the position you hold now, and the access that you have to exciting things like this, it's fascinating. If I had all the time in the world, I would just want to be your intern and tag along and like just soak it all in, you know. I guess before we close, for the moms and women watching out there, what would you say is some great advice you would give to anybody looking to break the glass ceiling and tear down walls and try to figure out how to balance motherhood with your career goals?
Yeah, maybe a couple of things that come to mind. There's one old adage for everyone that I subscribe to in terms of how to try to show up in the world for my community, for my family, for my business, for the nonprofits that I serve, et cetera. And that it's just two things: work hard and be kind.
Yes.
And if you do those two things, I think you'll be hugely successful and you'll feel good at the end of the day. I would say for women, I love the expression "fake it till you make it." You know, you're not going to know all the answers. You're not going to have all the experiences. Just put yourself out there. You'll be successful if you do, follow step one, work hard and be kind. If you do those things, put yourself out there, and you're capable of extraordinary things. And then beyond that, I would also say that it's important in your life to have both mentors and sponsors. Mentors are great for listening and giving you advice, being a sounding board. But sponsors will pick you up and pull you up where you need to be and deserve to be.
Wow.
And in my life, I had people who literally pulled me up. And if it weren't for them, I would absolutely not be in this position. And once you get to a place where you can pull others up, we have to do it for each other. And it's men and women together building a balanced ecosystem where every voice matters, no matter where you came from, no matter what your experience is, no matter what your title. In my organization, we don't care about your level of experience. I don't care about your title. I don't care about necessarily where you grew up, other than it informs some really interesting things you might bring to the table in terms of ideas, but every single voice matters equally. And that's the kind of team I want to work on, and I think that's the type of team that millennials coming up into the workforce are going to want to work on in the future.
Absolutely. Man, you nailed it. Stacey Tank, VP of Corporate Communications and External Affairs at Home Depot, and just all around amazing human being.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.